Do you know that Moses gave the children of Israel 613 laws? Wow. Let's look at these laws today. Let's consider some of the skeptical ones. The number one, the anointing oil was never to be produced or to be poured on any man. We see this in Exodus chapter 30 verse 32. Number two, men must not enter the temple with their head uncovered. You see this in Leviticus chapter 10 verse 6. Number three, Moses told them, the children of Israel, not to eat certain foods like fishes with no scales. You see this in Leviticus chapter 11 verse 10 and verse 11. Wait, he didn't stop there. He went on to prohibit eating fowls or certain birds in verse 13. He even prohibited eating insects. You see this in Leviticus chapter 10 verse 20. Oh, I wondered what the Chinese would have done. He also forbid eating camels, rabbits, and swines. You see this in Deuteronomy chapter 14 verse 7 and verse 8. He prohibited the children of Israel from eating reptiles of any sort in Leviticus chapter 11 verse 29 to 31. And in verse 41 he said, and every creeping thing that creep on the earth will be detestable. It will not be eaten. Number 4. One of the laws of Moses states that if a woman has conceived and gives birth to a male child, then she will be unclean for 7 days. She will be unclean according to the days of the separation of her menstruation. But if she bears a female child, then she will be unclean for 2 weeks, as in her menstruation, and she will continue for 66 days. We see this in Leviticus chapter 12 verse 1 to 8. But wait, why is the law of Moses in favor of men? Number 5. The law of Moses forbids gossips and embarrassing others. See it in Leviticus chapter 19 verse 16 and verse 17. Wow, I just wondered how Paramount Mock News would have handled this if it was implemented in Nigeria. Number 6. This one is to the scientists. The law of Moses disallowed crossbreeding of animals. See for yourself in Leviticus chapter 19 verse 19. Number 7. The most striking of all is that you are not permitted to eat fruit of a tree during its first 3 years. You see it in Leviticus chapter 19 verse 23. Number 8. The law of Moses does not tolerate superstitious belief. You see this in Deuteronomy chapter 18 verse 10 to verse 11. How I wish it is applicable in Africa. Wow. Number 9. Moses' law forbids divination and soothsaying. You see this in Leviticus chapter 19 verse 26. Number 10. Shaving the hair off the sides of your head is against the 613 laws of Moses. You see this in Leviticus chapter 19 verse 27. Wait, what? Number 11. Tattooing your skin is against the 613 law of Moses. You see this in Leviticus chapter 19 verse 28. Number 12. The law of Moses hates when you imitate others in customs and clothing. You see this in Leviticus chapter 20 verse 23. Number 13. The law of Moses does not permit you to lend with interest. You can see for yourself in Leviticus chapter 25 verse 37. I bet you this won't work in Africa, especially in Nigeria. Number 14. Did you know that the law doesn't permit some men to cut their hair? These men are known as the Nazarites. You see this in Numbers chapter 6 verse 5. They are not to drink wine. They are not to drink wine mixtures or wine vinegar. They are not to eat fresh grapes or raisins. Number 15. Did you know that the law permits you to eat your tithe? Wow. I know a lot of religious people will really kick against this. You see it in Deuteronomy chapter 14 verse 23 to 29. Number 16. The law demands that you wear tefillin on your head and bind it on your arms. You see this in Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 8. Number 17. The law also demands that you put a mezuzah on your doorpost. You see this in Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 9. But wait, imagine building a house and attaching a mezuzah in Africa. Wow. Number 18. The law demands that you cancel my debt after 7 years. Yes, I'm talking to you. My debt after 7 years. See for yourself in Deuteronomy chapter 15 verse 1 to 11. Imagine practicing this in Nigeria. Oshe. Number 19. The law does not permit a king to marry too many wives or allot wealth for himself. You see this in Deuteronomy chapter 17 verse 17. But wait, what happened in the case of King Solomon? What happened in the case of King Solomon? Number 20. The law demands that you cut off your wife's hand if she mistakenly touches a man's private part. My God, this is sad. Oh my God. There are more before I end. Number 21. Did you know that the concept of rel began in Deuteronomy chapter 22 verse 8? Number 22. The rapist must marry his victim if she is unwed, and he is never allowed to divorce her. You see this in Deuteronomy chapter 22 verse 29. Is this law fair enough? Number 23. Did you know that it is part of the 613 laws of Moses for a worker not to eat while on hired time? I hope you like that video. Please follow and subscribe. I leave you with this. Was the law of Moses for the whole world or strictly for the children of Israel? Please drop your comments in the comment section below.